Hi everybody, it's just Angela back again with another video. I think this one's going to be a bit shorter. Hope you're all doing really well. I'm just getting all the bells and whistles out today because I feel like it's really needed. Um, how has your 2022 started? So, as kind of predicted by Spirit, they said there'd be a lot of poisonous roots being um, kind of dug up. Um, but I'm alluding to this current situation in Australia with Novak Djokovic, the tennis player. And I've been following the news headlines about this, watching it, and it's kind of really been sticking in my mind today and it won't leave. And I was pulling some cards, not really about this in particular, but I just pulled out some cards from Spirit. I asked them, what do you want to share with me right now? And I think these cards are about this situation. And it's like, it's a message of, I don't even want to say reassurance. I think it's just a message of truth here, spiritual guidance. Um, so a lot of what's going on at the moment is Pluto is, it's at the, not at the end point, but it's going through, it's transiting through Capricorn, and it is in the last few degrees. It's like things are starting to heat up, and it's interesting because when I put the camera down, I've already got the cards out. I know many of you that have seen me do readings and whatever, and I've done readings for you. Like, I didn't see any point of putting the cards back in and then shuffling them on camera. I just wanted to come on and share this message because many of my peers and what I'm noticing is that we're very, very much on the same page all the time at the moment. So these are people that either I follow or I am in contact with, is that we're all on the same page and we're all seeing the same thing, and we're all very much in support of not only each other but in voicing our own voices, and that voice is the voice of Spirit. Because just like you, I live, if you're listening to me, most likely you are living from your higher self's perspective. So you've been on your spiritual path for quite a long time, or you don't, it doesn't have to be a long time, but you've done the work, you've done the shadow work, you've gone in, you've seen the yin and the yang, and you know that both are necessary. The two parts make up the whole, the feminine and the masculine. There's no good and bad, there just is. It's the truth. And I just don't think I can stay quiet about these subjects, and I won't stay quiet about them, because for me staying quiet about them is being complicit, and it's not standing up for what I believe in. I've got no vested interest. If anything, the only thing that slightly comes up with me, or did in the past, was fear that my values or what I believe in isn't going to be supported. But what I've learned is, as long as I support them, Spirit have got my back. And that's enough for me. So, getting to these cards. So, as I was seeing the news progress, what I also saw was the vitriol, the hate, the mob mentality come out. And what I will say about being in the UK, and what's been brilliant and that I know has been going on in the background, is many of us have been holding the light, and we've been putting out our energy, even though many of us don't like the political structure. As far as I'm concerned, in the UK, it doesn't serve the people it most needs to serve. It serves the few. And the problem that we've got in politics is that the alternative is no better. And Spirit keeps showing me some of the things where the alternative, they've not stood up for people's rights and children's rights, and especially when it comes to law. They've shown me a lot of things. Anyway, what I wasn't shocked, I was more surprised, is that people are not seeing the bigger picture, they're not seeing the higher perspective. But what Spirit is saying to me, it's because there's a collective shadow of people who haven't processed their, almost like their pain body because of the pandemic, and it's still ongoing. But what they're also saying is this is part of the path. This is part of the spiritual path, is that the victim will always come up along the path at certain points. The victim comes on the path, the archetype comes on the path, not so that you go into victimhood, so it shows its, its personality to say, by the way, this is the time when I'm letting you know you don't have to be a victim, you can choose another way. And we all know what it's like to go into victimhood. We've all been there. Why me? Poor me. This is not happening to anybody else in the world. And da-la-di-da-di-da. That the pattern of the script of the story is virtually the same, isn't it? But actually there comes a point with the victimhood story that's staying in it, and a self-identification with it keeps it, actually grows, and it keeps your energy stuck and held back. And there is like a point of awakening in that story where you go, this is not working for me, and I'm the common denominator here, I'm the common factor. Or we might start to see other people around us, or we might hear of somebody, and again I always think this is like divine intervention giving you a sign, where you'll see somebody either in the public eye, or it will be brought to your attention, to your own eyes, where somebody's gone through something similar, but they have transcended their victim story and they've come out of it. And I think that's really like the hero's journey for many people. So I think the victim archetype is a video on its own, but I'm seeing a lot of this, the victimhood's coming up, and it's like, so what they're doing is they're scapegoating him as this elitist who has been, it's one rule for him and one rule for other. And actually that's Spirit has said to me, they're missing the point. They're completely missing the point. The fact is that he is in a powerful position. He is an incredible sports person. He has maintained his stature and his belief in what he believes in. He's not asked for any validation in that. Sorry guys, but my throat is going around this. So this is about people being able to speak up for the truth. It's about finding your voice, and finding your voice is always the throat chakra. It's knowing what your truth is and holding your power here in your power center. But then it's being able to actually speak, voice, articulate, share, express that truth. So the victimhood story would say, well, you're doing this and you're doing that. But people are missing the point. And the point is that he is using his position of power to break this really repressive, I want to call it patriarchal, outdated police state that is existing where he is. He's actually using his position to take a stand, and he's being thrown with so much hate and vitriol and actually verbal violence in his way. That's the words that they're giving me. And people are missing the point, that it's actually he's trying to crack the door open to say, actually, this was never about this. It was never about a passport. It was about freedom. And actually because I got up really early this morning, I had a massive headache, like it's obviously clearing energy, and I didn't know why. And I put the news on, and I very rarely put it on first thing in the morning to watch it. And this was the big story, and it's all being sensationalized, and it's all like all the different movements. And it went from him getting exemption to go in to then all of a sudden that's now being changed. And I'm actually going to pull some cards on that because I really smell a rat around that. I feel like the person in power can see where this can almost upset the plan. And also, the other thing that I heard is, and this is what Spirit told me to do, is they said, write in and search who owns Australia. Who owns Australia? And when I did, and I typed this in, all I got was all these articles on how China's bought all the big conglomerates, but almost like, and it's so symbolic, this ports, water, entry points. These are areas of control with what comes in and what's going out of the country, which is quite interesting because for anybody that, obviously some of you I know that watch me are there, but I've travelled in and out of Australia not only when I flew as a flight attendant for years, but also as a passenger. And the laws are so strict, that always have been, about what you're allowed to bring and what you're allowed to import, export, that type of thing. And it's so interesting how we see now a foreign body, Spirit is just saying, listen to what we're showing you. A foreign body has infiltrated that boundary. Okay, look what's going on behind the scenes. But they're also saying that we are going to find out a lot more about this country, about stockpiling of certain things, and that they have been building a regime a lot faster and quicker than what we realise. And what Spirit is saying is, it's for all of us teachers out there, and my peers included, is we're our eyes are wide open. We're not fearful about this. It's why I won't follow these people who love to spread the story or the narrative with fear, because to do that, if you have to do that in order to convince people, not only for me is that the wrong method to do it, but also there's something in your ego that is personally involved, that it needs something out of it. Because you can share information and you can do it neutrally, and you can also do it without fear, because it's about, they're just saying, it's eyes wide open time now. It's time to look at things and go, actually, this is what is really going on. Because also, and I will show you what the cards are saying now. So out of my Astral Realms cards, we got the Pluto card came out. So I know this is to do with the Pluto cycle. So this is the card of regeneration. And I'm actually going to read this card out to you out of the book, because I love everything it says in the book. And it's all to do with the shadow. And the thing is, the teachers out there that I love, that I work with or whatever, they all acknowledge the shadow, and they've all done their shadow work. They've all gone out and they also call out the shadow. They're not afraid of it. And what I have learned is that when you do your shadow work, and when I say work, it's not work as in, oh my God, when is this going to be over? It's a journey. It's a journey. It's like a trip round the medicine wheel. And a big part of going round your medicine wheel is in the directions you will discover, and you will see different parts of yourself, and there will be a time and a place for it that is right for you and your soul to reveal that information to you. It might be done with a conduit, it might be done with a teacher, it might be done with your guides, it might be done with a group, a soul group. It's different for everybody. But the best teachers out there, guys, will always acknowledge shadow work, and they will have done the shadow work themselves, because that actually enables them to be very balanced, impartial teachers, because they are able, because once you've done your shadow work and you come out of that journeying, and you're ready to come bring everything out of the shadow and bring it into the line, integrate it into your life, is that you then don't fear the shadow, because you know it's coming up for healing. It's coming up to be held. And I understand this with people, why they are upset, why they are But there's only so much I can also indulge people in their own victimhood. I think those days for me personally as a teacher are over. My job is to hold the light, just like you. And what's happening at the moment is there is a massive mirror being held up to a lot of people. And it's to do with the choice, freedom being taken away from them, it being angered, being angry with the choices that they've made because they've been coerced into them, which I also understand as well. But this is the time now to empower yourself and equip yourself with what you need to do to move out of this cycle. So what's interesting was these two cards came out together. So we got hostilities and conflicts and unrest. So again, Spirit are just acknowledging what's going on around these situations in the world. And what they're also saying is it's a different, it's the same scenario but wearing different costumes. So again, this whole thing about power and control, freedom and repression, this has been going on in our world for eons, and it's just the same thing coming around, and it will come back again. To allow people to learn it this way. And I know you'll all say, well, why does it have to be? Some people have to learn this way. But what's interesting now is the setting boundaries cards come out, threshold, protection and honor. And I have to say, and this is the message that I got, which is that this will stop when people want it to stop. So instead of seeing this scenario, say like with him, well, why is he getting this and why? It's not about that. You're missing the point. This is all about somebody who has actually said, do you know what? I've made my decision. It's right for me. You might not agree with me. And what a lot of people are saying is, oh, well, you shouldn't come in the country and these are the rules and the regulations. I think we need to go rewind a little bit here, and we need to look at why you would actually support rules and regulations that are so repressive, and because that's what they are. And what I saw on the news was what really summed it up for me. And this is where, when you're looking at people, they're holding on for dear life, for power, they're desperate for power, is that they'll do anything to hold on to it. And this is usually where they'll out themselves. And it was like people in full medical PPE who were meeting this van. They were out on the street. It was so dramatic. It was like something out of a film, of course. And to obviously escort somebody into a quarantine hotel where they're obviously have tested negative, so they've no threat to anybody. But it's like, all I heard was, it's like treating somebody like an infectious disease, like when they don't have one. That's how far this has lost the plot. But just put it into logical perspective. Look at what is right in front of you and what's happening right in front of you. It's not even that this isn't, it's just absurd. It's just absurd. And that was the bit, and I just thought, oh my God, why is it that the country or a state or an area is so threatened by somebody? And it's not about following rules, guys. It's actually looking at what the rules are. It's actually looking at the root of the problem. Again, it's not about trying to treat the symptoms. Again, allopathic medicine, when people don't get well, in some situations, it's because, I could give you a really crass example, but if we don't, with obesity, if we don't look at the source of the problem, for some people it could be trauma. With addiction, it can be abuse in childhood, and that's where all of these behaviours, these dysfunctional, out of control behaviours, are just a cry for help for that person. So what this is saying is, this card for me is, well, what are you willing to stand up for? And it's lovely because one of the other teachers that I really follow, and there's not very many people that I do follow because a lot of people are just quiet on stuff now. They're worried about their brand being upset. But what I've realised is that the true spiritual teachers out there, they're not even in it for that. They know that people will follow them organically, and they won't stand up for this. They'll stand up against this nonsense about being cancelled for speaking truth, because actually it's really good to be able to chat to somebody, and even if I don't agree with somebody's voice, I still think it's important that they have that voice, because once we take that away, we're taking it away from everybody. And it was a big message that I got this morning, which was that all of this vitriol and hate that people are directing to this one person, that is what they are doing to him, they are doing to themselves. And this is what the whole unity consciousness is about. And it's a big, big evolvement in our species that is going to require a lot of people to go within and look at their shadow, and look at why is it necessary to spew hate and vitriol about somebody that mirrors back to them things that they're not looking at themselves. Right, okay, so I'm going to tell you what's come out the bottom here. So we've got courage. So this is strength, fierceness, and family. And this is the year of courage, guys. It's the Chinese year of the is it the water tiger? And Mike, I've got that wrong. I think it's the water tiger. So it's about emotions, but it's about standing up for things that we really believe in. And I know that there is a lion in that card, but I do feel like this is a nod to, it's a nod to the tiger as well, to the family of cats, being independent enough to not have to follow the crowd and to talk about what you believe in, because we're in a very dangerous territory at the moment that if we don't, the rabbit hole will get bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden a lot of people are going to start being angry. Well, how do we get here? Well, it's pervasive. It's like, let's wear people down. And also to be very much aware of the fact that this pandemic has made a lot of people a lot of money, and it's actually shown some institutions and organisations of where power grabs can happen. Now, thankfully, this is where I think the light, many of us in the UK have been holding the light, we've been spreading the light for some change, and now they are actually using some common sense, which is that we have to live with it. I actually suspect my waters tell me two things. One, that they've actually looked at the economic predictions and they've seen where they can't be answerable to it. I also think when this started to switch, it was a tactical decision, because I think our leader had gone out of favour. And again, it's always a game that they're playing. It's always like, and it's not about being suspicious. I can see things very clearly. It's why I don't take it personally, but I just think, right, okay, I know what's coming, so I'm ready. I'm not going to just sit down and take it. I'm not a person that's going to have my voice quietened or, repressed. And the courage comes with the twin flames card, and this is eternal connection. So your connection to spirit, and again, look, there's a tiger in this card, I've just realised now. So this is, again, it's about being able to be fierce, but again, we don't have to do that at the expense of another person. We don't have to spew vitriol and hate to another person just because we don't agree, and that's what we're seeing. It's like, well, you don't agree with me. Again, it's it's being directed at one person. But what's interesting was I saw a picture of him, and it was a close-up of his eyes. And I always think when you look into somebody's eyes, you can see the truth, you can see everything. Well, as an intuitive, I know that I can. It reveals a lot to me. And when I looked at the picture in his eyes, I was like, this is somebody who has a very strong conviction of truth. And he's not, not everybody could have done this. And even his colleagues have literally sung him down the river by telling him what they think he should do. Again, missing the point that it's nothing to do with having this. It's to do with actually standing up to a regulation that doesn't even make sense, because once you've had the infection, you've got a natural immune response, and that again is being wiped off social media channels. I mean, this might even be taken down from this video because I've mentioned it. Let me see if I can get a picture of him. Let's have a look. Images. But what's interesting as well is in the media of how they're trying to really like tarnish his image, and also make him out to be like some kind of quackery. And also Spirit was saying to me about this, they were laughing because with me, they were saying, look, we will like have the last laugh, because often they will always try to do this to disempower someone. But what was interesting was the example that they used in the newspaper was about, I think it was a nod to Dr. Emoto's work with water, and it's been scientifically proven, where and we've done this in nutrition, where you actually put a thought or a feeling into the water and it changes the vibration of it, because he takes special photographs of water if it's been blessed, if you hold in the glass and you think about love, if you think about hate, and it's really interesting how it represents in the water. I mean, the thing is, the way that healing and let food be thy medicine, and the way that we can use our natural herbal remedies, we are going to come back to this at some point. Let me get a really good close-up picture of him to see if I can get this on his... Let's see if I can get him on Instagram. Where is he? There he is. It's actually on his profile picture. That's the one that I saw. Let's have a look at him now. How many followers? He got 9.7 followers. I just think he's fantastic. Let's see if I can get his profile picture up. No, it won't let me. It's the only thing I don't like about Instagram is you can't see the proper profile pictures. Close up, you can't zone in. I mean, I know probably some of you be like, do this, but I can't on this phone. I'm going to get a new phone soon anyway. But it was just his eyes. I saw a picture of his eyes and I thought, real Archangel Michael energy, but also galactic energy. Not, will not waver. And I actually really think that they were willing to not bend the rules, accommodate him, because he's such a crowd generator. And what's interesting is how people have turned on him. It says a lot about people's, how can I say it, character when they're willing to do that. But also, and that might be just because of a difference of opinion, but also I really respect this willingness to, like, his eyes are so clear to me. He's got eyes very, he's just very connected. So, but what I was noticing was how they're just trying to make him out to be absolutely crazy now. So let's just completely, he doesn't fit the narrative of the media now with like, oh, just being quiet, playing tennis, and a bit like Naomi Osaka when she first came out saying about she was struggling with depression, and then all of a sudden, because people are being cancelled for not being supportive around it, then they all got on board. When she first came out and she talked about how she was struggling with it, there was so much criticism. And again, there was a Netflix documentary about her and I watched it and I thought she was a really beautiful person. Again, she's very in touch with her emotions. She's very in touch with who she is. And, you know, she knows what's right for her and she's having to follow it. And it doesn't fit with the model of generate cash. We need you. We need sponsors. We need this. It's like playing this game all the time. Yeah, I can't get his profile picture up, but all I can say to you is with his eyes is they're just very, very, they're clear. They're clear. There's honesty there. That's what I get with it. And I'm going to be honest and say that Spirit never wrong when they give me these impressions. But what they're saying, it's almost like we'll have the last joke because of the fact that when it comes down to it, people will always seek out their spirit for answers when everything else fails them. They'll always be awoken to their own spiritual path. And that's when, whenever it's down the line or 5 years or 10 years or 6 months, people will look back and think, actually, that person was very much in tune with what's right for them. So, twin flames, this is about the masculine and the feminine coming together, but it's within ourselves. So it's having the courage to face both sides of ourselves, light and dark, you know, shadow and luminous light, strength and weakness. If we cannot accept those things in ourselves and honour them, how can we do that in another person? I mean, this is self-mastery now. Pluto and regenerative energy is self-mastery. Pluto is in Capricorn. Venus is retrograde in Capricorn at the moment. So this is all to do with the relationship to our things, to our bodies, to our self-care, to what we value in life. Venus is, somebody was saying about the archetype of Aphrodite, and it really made me laugh because the person was talking about Aphrodite and how like she loves the cash, and you know, she's all like about Las Vegas and all this lot, and I don't really know whether I really agree with that, but yes, Aphrodite loves the shiny things, even things that all that glitters is not gold. But I don't think I'd go so far as to say that it's Las Vegas. Anyway, right. So when we have the strength of conviction to face ourselves, so this is the courage and the twin flames. So all these cards came out together. We've got sacred breath and sound. So this is life force and communication. So this is speaking up. This is speaking up and speaking out from a place of wisdom, from a place of knowing. Okay, and nod to the dolphin there. Lots of animals, spirit animals in these cards. But also, this is the nod to the future. And what Spirit said to me about these cards is things are not going to change until we change. So that, and the thing is, this is what most of the intuitive teachers, we already know this, we've seen it, we've had a snapshot into the future, but also there are loads of different timelines, guys. So when I read for somebody or I read into a situation, I'm not predicting into the future, it's already here. But what it is that we all have choice points and we all collectively have choice points together, and that is all the sum of the parts to the whole. So we all have a part to play. And the thing is, like, people might be bitching and moaning, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me about decisions that they've made and regretting them and feeling coerced and all of this lot, and I will listen. I'll be there for everybody as much as I can. However, there is, what's really important is that we have to, at some point, say to ourselves, what are we contributing to? What are we holding? Are we holding light or are we holding fear? And if we're holding fear, what is it? Why are we holding fear? Is it because we've been around it too much? Has it really invaded our sacred space, our inner sanctum? Is it in our mind? Is it in our heart? Why are we holding on to it? Is it from the past? Is it programming? You know, again, it's self-inquiry, isn't it? But the innovations card and the guide, so the path being illuminated and a new path at that, new creations, this will only happen when we are willing to do this. This is what they said to me. So this is to have the courage to stand strong in our conviction. And again, it's not about whether you've had this or not. And people might be getting upset with me for bringing this up in conversations, but this is out there in our world still. And I would love to sit here and talk about angels for 3 hours, but the thing is, that is only one part of the spiritual path. There's so many other parts of it. And the teachers that I personally relate to and that I follow are people that are talking about everything. They're actually talking about what's going on in the world. Is where we're willing to face both sides of ourselves, and we're willing to stand up for what we believe in. Okay? That's what these cards are all about. So, life force and communication. Okay. But also, this is again where we might be giving our life force away. And I've seen it a lot where people are like, well, this is happening to me and I'm really angry. Well, it's like, well, you know, you always have a choice. You always have a choice. We don't have to be victims to anything, even a system, guys. And I know some people might not agree with me on this, but you always have a choice. You do. Right, so I'm going to read this Pluto Regeneration card out for all of us. This is a number 11 card, and 11 is a mastership card. 11 life path is where, like the double ones, double twos and double threes, this is where I remember this once being described to me by somebody saying, well, I'm on the path of mastership, as if it was some sense of, you know, it was like very egotistically said, like, well, I'm know more than you type thing. And actually what I heard with these double numbers is they're actually very hard life paths, because you've said, right, I'm just going to go for it in this lifetime. It doesn't entitle somebody to say they know more or they know less. And again, this is another thing. I will not follow this narrative with teachers where you probably know more than me listening to me, and I could probably learn just as much from you. It's not a competition. It's not, people knowing more than others. People might be more connected than others, but that's because they've got the time and the energy, and that's their soul path to do that in this lifetime, right? Protection, purification. So this is the guidance around all of these situations that are happening, because they are, and I'm just going to say this, and you could be living wherever, because I was in a lockdown for literally about a year where I was. It was just the same. We just weren't coming out of it. And I still felt like I had a choice in everything that I was doing. Yes, it got frustrating at certain points, but I knew I had choices to do things. I still moved house. I still bought and sold properties. I still got on with it. It was just in a different way. Right, protection, purification and grounding. So this is the guidance for right now. So regeneration is the act of physically and spiritually becoming anew. It is literally and figuratively shedding skin so that you can change and grow. When you are on a path towards enlightenment, it causes you to lead a life you did not lead before. You begin to change your behaviours, thoughts, actions and reactions, and regenerate your spirit. You need to realise, though, that in order to experience a regeneration, you have to put in the work, and a lot of this work pertains to your shadow self. When working on your shadow self, you will be prompted to face your darkness and any deep-rooted emotions that may have been compartmentalised, so that you can put on a brave face. One planet that relates all too well to regeneration and challenging your shadow self is Pluto. Larger than life, omnipotent, alchemical Pluto has a force that is among the most intense of all the heavenly bodies in the solar system. If life seems like a personal hell, look to Pluto for help, but don't expect him to do the heavy lifting for you. Pluto reveals your vices, addictions, and your own undoing. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes, he can show you how to transform that lead into gold. This will always involve a symbolic death. Remember that you're dealing with the ruler of Hades, and something must be released in order for something new to be born. Pluto knows that nothing ever really dies, that it simply transmutes into another form and regenerates. When experiencing powerful regeneration, it's essential to use an equally powerful stone to provide the purification and protection you require. Black tourmaline is a potent grounding stone that will shield you from negativity in any form. It takes negative energies from your person and environment, transmutates them into positive energy, then emits new higher vibrations. I embrace my darkness. I acknowledge the shadow that is part of myself. I call in regeneration and rebirth to cleanse all that is no longer serving my highest good. So I have to say, like with an example with Pluto, it could be that, you know, there's like, say like somebody's experiencing these really negative thoughts or violent thoughts or whatever you want to call them. And actually what you would do is you would look at what is the source of that. So you wouldn't just go in and pray and hand it over to spirit, because that doesn't always, like what they're saying to me is you pull out the root from its source. So I always remember thinking about some of the things that my parents thought, not because they were, you know, nasty. It was because they weren't educated about certain aspects of life. They hadn't been exposed to it, and I had. So I was able to form my own opinions around it, and I was luckily able to say that their belief didn't have to be mine. But some of these, you know, again, this virtue signaling, well, I've done it for this, and why aren't you doing it because I've done it? Well, you carry on and do that. That's fine. But again, if you're not doing it from, and I touched on this on one of my other videos, I think, didn't I, last week, where you've got to make decisions from a sovereign place. If you've made that decision, well, then that's great. That's good for you. You've made it for you. But when you're doing it against your own will because you feel you've got to, that's always going to come back in some shape or form, either through resentment or getting angry because you didn't make that decision from a place that is from you. And it might be because you didn't feel confident, you felt coerced. That is still going to be needed to be looked at, and that could be about anything, guys. It's not about and I think we need to also address this matter, that it's really our medical health. It's got nothing to do with anybody. It's nobody's business. And, you know, like I remember when I got COVID, a lot of people made an assumption that I hadn't been jabbed. A lot of people made an assumption that I had jabs or whatever. And I kind of, at the time, I did respond to some people about some things. And recently I've thought, that's actually nobody's business. It's nobody's business to ask me, like it's not my business to ask you. And luckily over Christmas, thank God, I have a 3 thinking family. Not all of them, but majority of them. And I won't mention names, but regardless of whatever my status was, I was welcome. And not every family is like that. This, you know, this whatever spell it is that people have just been, you know, you can still be safe, you can still be respectful, but again, it's all fear-based energy. It's all like, oh well, I'll get it from you, and then blaming people. I mean, you could go out on the street and get it from somebody. I think that is also another area that we need to address, because it's when this, if this does evolve into something down the line, people will be spitting feathers that their medical information is available for everybody to see. But again, if we don't speak up and say, no, I'm not accepting this, it will continue. And this is what these cards are all about. If we are going to stay in fear-based energy, if we're going to spread fear-based energy, this is self-mastery, guys. This is the card of 11. 11 number it's a card of mastery. It's mastering over what could be seen as unsurmountable situations, and it is about setting boundaries. My boundary is here, my internal boundary is here, and you're not allowed in there. You don't need to know that about me. For you to feel safe, you make your own decisions and I will make mine, and we can both be respectful about that. How about that? Unfortunately, it's getting to the point now where we have to state the obvious. Um, and I don't know why people are scared to talk, to hide behind certain things and masks and not say, because we're not going to move on from this unless we stand up for our rights. And I, for one, like one of my fellow teachers, she's like, I'm not going to be silenced. And I was like, I just respect you. I respected you even more anyway. But now it's like, and again, it's this thing with spiritual teachers. Oh, you shouldn't be talking about this. You should just stay in your lane, and you should sit there and you should just talk about, like, pink sparkly pencil cases, and, and there's anything wrong with that, and rainbows, and and kind of feathers and things like this. But the thing is, like, when people come to you for readings, they will come to you to talk about some subjects that are so deeply personal to them, that are so confidential, that you are privileged that that person feels safe to come to you. It's an absolute honor and privilege. And these are not light subjects. These are very heavy, traumatic situations that people have been through. But the healing is in the freedom that they can express that, and that they can share that, and they will not be judged. They will not be hoofed out. They will not be told there's something wrong with them. They will be told, good for you. Well done, you, for speaking about this, for speaking your truth. And I hold you and I see you in your sovereign light, regardless of what's happened to you. And, this is like, we're in these times, guys, of self-mastery. And, this Pluto regeneration, it's bringing up the collective shadow in different forms. And this is one of them. This is a typical example. So, I salute those people that are making a stand, that are not following this absolute deluded thinking that this is the only way how we're going to get through this situation. Actually, what Spirit said to me is it's prolonging it, because innovation and guide is following, it's not following control factors, it's actually following what your own voice is telling you to do. That's exactly what it's doing. Right, guys, intuition's on the top of the pack, so I'm going to leave it there. And I will see you on the other side, or whenever, for a next reading. Again, you don't have to agree with me on this, and that's absolutely fine. We should all celebrate that we've all got different voices, because that actually makes us up as a rainbow family of different types of colours and vibrations, and we all bring something different to the table. We're all going to be asked to look outside the box this year, to think with an open mind and an open heart. So I'll leave it there, and I will see you very soon. All my love. Take good care of yourselves.